Welcome, Ashton. Glad to have you here today.
Thanks for
Ashton
having me.
Gustafson with Ashton Gustafson Real Estate
And
Company
associates,
and Associates.
something like that.
Some people know you as AG Realty.
There you go.
So I want to talk to you today specifically about something that's a little bit of a different twist from, and you can tell us. I know you do a lot of research, from all of the research to the local markets about real estate, the market.
Yeah.
You have a realty company, have a bunch of realtors that work with you, and we'll get to that. But one of the things I noticed about you that I've always appreciated is not typical for a lot of business people. Is you have a real creative side.
Yeah.
You've always found a way to bring your curiosity on that creative side into the business, and that manifests itself in different ways. I know you have a podcast. Starts at Bold and Beautiful. That's the name of it.
Good, True, and Beautiful.
Good, True, and Beautiful podcast. Yeah. We'll plug that. And you also have The Citizen, which is a quarterly published paper.
Yeah.
I haven't asked you this before. Is that a takeoff of, or did you there used to be the Citizen paper here in town?
Yeah.
The gentleman that
you actually brought that into my understanding. I had no idea that there was a Citizen.
This is the
so I leave the bank one day and you go, "Hey, I love the Citizen." There was a guy that used to do the Citizen. I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?"
Welcome to the lawsuit. I'm sure.
So I was very nervous.
A wonderful gentleman. His name escapes me. Many of our listeners might remember, but he had a local paper. He went around and sold ads to it. It was just, I mean, it was a Mayberry story type deal, and he was around forever. A lot of people supported him because he did. He did all local stories and had some ads and stuff that was called The Citizen. So it was just coincidence. I should have remembered that.
Yeah.
But and it's been gone for a long time. But so you have those two things, the real creative side, and if you read The Citizen, of all those articles you actually have written, the things that are written about are not just traditional business stories. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're pretty artsy, creative things. I saw the last one. One of the last ones was about the art studio downtown.
Yeah, Washington Gallery.
Yep. So a little bit different from a real estate guy. So my question is, what when people introduce you as a realtor or a real estate management company, how do you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
I just met you, on a cruise. Like, ask them, what do you do? How do you introduce yourself? How do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately ask that question of myself every day, and I don't think I necessarily know the answer. When it comes to real estate, I do say that I happen to sell real estate. I love what I do. I am in the real estate business. At my core, you've probably discovered I am a musician, artist.
I don't know about the musician.
Yeah. I'm probably a hippie that should have been out in California, with long hair. And so, but I happened to find myself in the real estate business 21 years ago. And so to me, I mean, originality, creativity are probably two of my highest values. And so when I think in the realm of business, and who I want to be or what I want to represent, I mean, I think at the core, I want to represent something that's original, that's new, that's
Were you always a
fresh.
curious kid growing up, or
Crazy curious.
Crazy curious?
Yeah.
That you done
Answers. I'm not interested in answers. I'm always interested in questions, more questions, the thing underneath the thing.
Teacher's pet or drove teachers crazy?
I drove them crazy and became the pet.
Yeah.
So, we had to get to know each other.
So we can go back to your business career, but have you always been someone who wanted to build things beyond your day job? Did you start out with those people, like employed by someone else, or did you go into business for yourself? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I guess in a way, I began working with and for my grandparents who were in the real estate business, still are to this day. But it wasn't a couple months until I was an independent agent on my own. I think another value of mine is, individuality, being on, not that I have anything against teams, but I kind of like the pressure on my shoulders. So I played golf in high school, tennis. I just adapted to those types of places. And so I think I've always been drawn to building something, signing my name to it. Here, I made this for you. Like, really just that essence of, if you've ever read Seth Godin, he's a business mind, he talks about ship your art, make your art, sign your name, and those things have always rang very true.
Did you realize early on, or did it take later to determine that you didn't want your profession to identify you? Like, you don't want to be, I'm a realtor, or I'm a, like you knew.
Yeah, that was a big journey. I think that the biggest shift happened for me around 30. I got out of Baylor. I had a goal. I sold 100 houses in a year by myself, which is Looney Tunes. I don't recommend anybody do that. So the next year I was like, well, I'm going to sell 120 houses by myself.
Did you say, were you working for yourself at the time, or were you working under?
I was working. I was an owner of a firm with my grandparents,
so-
you know, at that time, and so
100 houses, man, you were.
it was, and the price points were so low, like it was wild. But you know, fast forward, this is 2012, 2013. I said, well, then I got to keep moving everything up and to the right. I'm going to sell 120 houses by myself, and that led to all sorts of health issues and just shotgunning 2 Red Bulls a day. I was married. I had 2 kids. And that was the great doorway, the threshold for me saying, I can't be identified by this. This can't be the truest thing about me. And so it was this huge reset. And I'll never forget, I sent Bryn and my girls to see the in-laws in Waco for a weekend. And I wrote this sentence down in a journal, and it just said, Ashton, you got to make your life more and more about less and less. And that sentence started my speaking career. That sentence created crazy focus within my business, and it allowed me to kind of actually be who I am at the soul level in my business. And so it was a terrible thing that happened, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it rattled my cage and really shook the slumbering self that
You
I
started
had.
publishing, did the paper, doing market data, provide people, not just customers, market data, podcasts, all those kind of things.
Yeah, and the podcast has been a journey of crazy curiosity. You know, sometimes it's hard to have some dialogues when you're asking big questions of yourself and life and business, and you may not get those at the local level. So I started just reaching out to the guys that wrote these books. I mean, New York Times bestsellers, and people ask me all the time, how have you had these guys on your podcast? I'm like, to be honest, I have no idea. I'm a redneck from Texas. I have no business talking to me. But I think, you know, when you show up with a genuine spirit of, hey, you wrote this book, it changed my life, can you give me an hour? People have responded to that, and it's been, you know, such a cool community, 1 million downloads. I've hosted conferences at my house. People have showed up from Utah and New York and Tennessee, and it's like, wow, this is kind of a fun thing.
What was your motivation to just make you better, more passionate about what you're doing? Or was it as a pathway to make more money, make another dollar?
Oh my gosh. Well, the podcast has made me $0, but it has filled the bank account of my soul, you know, and so there was never a dollar thing about it. I think the coolest thing for me, it was twofold. Yes, I wanted to sit with business minds, sages, philosophers, theologians, but then I'm like, if a redneck from Texas can get interested in this stuff, I think some other people are probably asking big questions, and maybe we can provide a platform for them to eavesdrop on some of these conversations.
So it made you a better you, gave you the energy that when you turned...
For sure.
Then you turn it on your business, you're a better...
That's right.
...business person.
Yeah, it's all an inside job. So the degree to which, you know, I can become more centered and aligned here, then that spills over into my house, into my business, into the marketplace, and so...
One of the reasons I'm asking those questions, because I know you do too, you're taking a lot of information and podcasts and books and things, and there seems to be a lot of discussion around people, especially young people, but even some later in years, trying to find their passion and trying to blend that with either a way to monetize it or be their living. So they, you know, I hate for people to, you know, dread Mondays coming up and live for Fridays. And you know, this is a tough way to live your life. And, so they end up with hobbies and things that fill in and make them whole. And then they sometimes try to blend the two together. And sometimes, especially if it's something in the arts, it's hard to make a full living at it. They can do a side gig and whatnot. But you know, you seem to find a way to blend those things together. Do you find that doing those things augments your business in addition to making you a better person and kind of step in your walk when you go to work? But do those things help in branding? They see AG Realty, they see realtors, or even when it's just Ashton Gustafson, they find an issue and they carry that over. I guess my point is, it seems to me, and this is my guess, a lot of these things you'd be doing if you were a dentist. Or, you know, you could be anything, but you you build that brand and pull it into your day-to-day work or job.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I like to think that all of our jobs at some level are mediums, right, to express who we truly are. And so whether it was being a dentist or selling insurance or who knows? I mean, I do think there is a way to bring your authenticity to that place and to the marketplace. And the greatest gift of all is that I think the marketplace does respond to that type of authenticity. My business, I have 1,500 competitors in the marketplace. Okay. So it's not just a good idea, it's essential that I differentiate myself. If there's 1,500 options that people could make a phone call and say, hey, help me do this today, what is it going to be to where I can hopefully get that phone call? And I think that one of my modes or ways of being in the world is through authenticity and through these things that interest me. And I often say, like, almost everything that I do is marketing, but it's very covert. It isn't loud. In we could use the metaphor, in a world that's noisy, it's music.
Yeah.
It stands out. And so in a world that's black and white, it's color. And so I think that's those are, I can kind of dance around in metaphors too much, so reel me in if you need to. But I do believe that, like, when it comes to business, when the world is zigging, you have to zag, and you can find that zag when you go inward. You say, who am I? What am I about? What are the things that I'm passionate about? What do I see that no one else seems to see? And then you bring that through your business, whether it's banking or being a dentist or whatever.
Yeah. So the concept, bring value, be authentic, and then if people like you, the old adage is they'll do business with you probably.
Yeah,
Let's give it a
maybe.
shot.
Maybe. I mean, I think
It's not your motivation, but it's a byproduct.
yeah, and I think we can build businesses that chase business, or we can build businesses that attract business. And one of those you've got to be super intentional about.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this or not. I just thought about it. You talk about, if I look at my podcast as a separate unit, it's not monetized or whatnot. But you never know the impact it's going to have. A few years ago, I don't know if you remember this. I was visiting in Houston, and a guy was walking to this real nice neighborhood for exercise, a long walk, my workout kind of thing. And I listened to your podcast, and I can't remember. I wish I'd have thought about this before. I could have researched it. There's a guy you had on a podcast about simplifying his life. And he'd gone through something traumatic, and had taken him down that path of just simplifying things.
Yeah.
And it really spoke to me at the time. And I think I reached out on my text or something to try to encourage you, because we've done this podcast thing and trying to get our, the motivations behind it, what we're trying to do, and be authentic in that. And I think if I didn't, I hope I did. I think I reached out to you just to encourage you to continue doing that, because you don't know what impact it's going to have. Because that particular one hit me at that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
I don't know if you remember that, but I was like, man, keep doing that, because whether there may have been 5 people listening to it at the time, or 500 or 500,000, I don't know, but it was brought value to me.
Well,
and that would have been, I wouldn't have gotten it if I said, hey, I know real estate, you need a realtor.
Yeah. People always say, what's this podcast about? I'm like, well, I'm not talking about real estate on there at all. But, the simplifying, I mean, that's another core value of mine in business, is this idea that a simple and quiet way of doing your business is always going to be greater than a way that's chaotic and complicated. So if my business feels chaotic and complicated, I'm always going, how can I go back to what's simple and quiet?
My son has his day job, and he's got a side gig business that he spends, I think, almost 40 hours a weekend. He works after hours, weekends, but he was explaining to us, his name's Trim, so Trim, you can't keep up with that kind of pace. Early 30s. He said, but Dad, it doesn't feel like pace, because when I'm doing that, I don't feel like I'm working.
Yeah.
And
it's a real gift when
he likes his first job, and he's good at it. He likes it. He gets value out of that. It's not like he's dreading that.
Yeah.
But his second deal, that's his passion.
Yeah.
And it's actually monetized, and it's doing very well. But he's like, it doesn't feel like work. And my guess would be, when you work on some of these other things, you probably don't feel like you're working.
No.
When you're writing an article for the Citizen, or you're putting together your podcast, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
you
just
can tell your passion comes through. Those articles, man, are heavy. I mean,
yeah.
I have to read them twice. Man.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in there, but someone's got to say it. Somebody's got to say it. I mean, I wanted the Citizen to be something for Waco that didn't feel like it was marketing on every page, that elevated the stories of people that maybe aren't seen sometimes. You know, a guy that owns an art studio, a guy that owns the vintage store grocery, the new French bakery. I mean, that was the whole last one. Local artists. You know, there's a lot of these people that they don't even know are here. And as we help people buy and sell homes, you know, we get introduced to these stories, and I'm like, you got to hear this
So
story.
it's not really surprising that you're drawn to those stories of people that are pursuing their passions, may or may not be monetizing it.
100%.
And so you're like, hey, I feel you. I want to support you.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Anybody that's brave enough to put things into the world and sign their name on it, like, I'll talk to those people all day.
Thinking about you coming off of this, I got to thinking about the realtors and, you know, people's only experience typically with them are the ones they've used. And so the question I thought or had was, do you think people remember your listings or they remember you? And I thought about that from the realtors that I've been involved with. And of course, in my business, I see them all the time, but it's personal, like sold a home or two for me and my wife. It seems like the ones who are most effective, yes, they have to have knowledge and all that, but it's an interesting relationship that I hear people when we're talking about their house with a realtor.
Yeah.
It's usually passionate one way or the other. They either love them or hate them. Really? And it's like, because it's a personal, the ones that are most successful make it personal.
Yeah.
The ones that we've experienced with, especially the lady that sold our first house, that's my wife's in the late 80s. If my wife was sitting here, she would immediately light up about that lady and how she handled it, made it personal. We still got a little vase or vase or whatever that she said, and she reminded me, and I won't tell you how long ago that, but we still have it in our house. So, you know, Lynn gave us that as our housewarming present.
Yeah.
But she made it so personal.
Yeah.
And I know Kelly referred people to her because it was a personal experience. You know?
Right.
So I guess in that same way, that's what you're doing is they remember Ashton, but with your, you know, you must have 10 to 20 realtors in your phone.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, I've got about 15 agents in our office. There's, like I said, there's 1,500 of us here in town. I mean, if you attended one of my sales meetings, you'd kind of be like, what are these guys even talking about? Because you know, I say things to my team like, hey, your job is actually to be a redeeming presence. Like, I can tell you, I've sold personally, I think I've sold 12 to 1,300 homes on my own in my career. People make their own decisions. Like a buyer is going to do what they want to do. We will do our best to convey, consult, you know, point things out as necessary. But, you know, I can, after doing this for 21 years, like people are going to do what they want to do. So what's our job? I mean, we're part therapist. We're part consultant. I am the guy that's always going, hey, in 5-10 years, if you want to sell this, these are the things that I'm seeing that are a challenge today. Because I see frustration, you know, when sellers have homes and they're not moving for certain reasons. So yeah, I definitely think people remember, you know, the person more than they do necessarily, you know, the physical thing that was being bought or sold.
Yeah, and they really have to trust their agent.
For sure.
They would only do it, you know, a few times in their life, so they don't let them on the market. Trust, take their advice.
And there's so much at play. I mean, you can run data all day long, and I tell people when I run CMAs and I sit down, I go, okay, so here's these last 10 sales. I was a part of 3 of them, 5 of them, whatever. I go, if I told you the data that you're not seeing in the square footage and price per foot and this and that, like, well, this was the grandmother and she wanted to be near these people that like, there's no amount of money that would have kept her from buying that home, but it's in the CMA, so we call it a comp, right? So we bring all of this story data into the marketplace, and when you kind of mix those two things together, logic and then the emotion, I think that's the gift of a great agent of saying, hey, like, yeah, this may check the boxes on why this home is or isn't selling, but let me tell you why it sold the last time and who we think we need to go to find.
It seems like early in our careers, we're either through observation or training, you feel like there's a pressure to try to become what you or you're told the market is expecting of you in your profession.
Yes.
Instead of bringing your authentic self into it. You seem to be one that's just kind of mastered, hey, this is who I am, this is my interest, and go with it.
Yeah, I mean.
And that seems to work better than trying to be someone that they expect.
That is true. I'd say that's 50% true. I had a gift of I probably spent the first 10 years of the business traveling the country, attending conferences. I could name guys in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Sea Island, Georgia, Philadelphia, Boulder, Colorado, Encinitas, California. These agents when they would speak, I would listen to every single word they said. I was like, man, I want to be like that guy when I grow up. So I took those notes and then I kind of digested it and then said, okay, now that I've seen success from other people in other markets, how can I do that my way? How can I take what is core to what they're doing, but also bring my authentic self to it? And I think when you can do that, that is the marriage, that works in the marketplace.
I remember in the early years in my profession, there was pressure to look and sound a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I never was comfortable with that. And I finally determined that I didn't think that our customers really cared about that as much as they cared about if I cared about them.
Yeah.
And that old adage of, be someone that people like and they'll do business with you. I felt like it's kind of the opposite. If you like people, they'll do business with you. Because a lot of people in my business that did the first, but they didn't like people.
Yeah.
And it shows,
Yeah.
So then, and later I ended up making jokes. So I have some kind of quirky ways. What I eat, what I drink, what I do with my time, how I dress. I didn't, as soon as I could get out of dressing the authentic suit of the time, I did. Not because I was lazy or sloppy, because I felt like I wanted to be more comfortable for people to come into our business.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was in business as a young man, family business, it was very intimidating to go into an institution and do all that. You had to look and act a certain way, almost kind of like in that church, for a while. You had to look, act a way, and then you were welcome. If not, you weren't. I never liked that. And so I thought, well, why can't we be more like, sound more like our customers? And as I've gotten older, my family makes fun of me. Like, look, I'm kind of quirky, but it works for me. But more importantly, the customers care about, you care about their interests.
That's right.
Are you there to serve them? And they'll let you be quirky.
That's right.
You don't have to be conforming.
Yeah.
Is your business better today because you did that than if you just stuck to, let me tell you about real estate? Do you think it's tangibly?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think, people don't really want to hear much about real estate, like
they want to hear less about banking. You ever put somebody to sleep? Let me start quoting rates to you in economics and all that stuff. The Fed. You want to hear about the most recent thoughts about?
Maybe right. I'm interested.
So you're getting bored right now.
I don't know. I'm interested.
I can tell you're glossing over.
But I do think the like people when you obnoxiously just talk about what you do, that's spam. Like, let's just call it what it is. That's spam. It's like walking into a cocktail party and yelling, here's my business card, and I think people, they don't have capacity to hear that. I can't remember what the data is, but people get like 5,000 ads served to them a day between billboards and TV and their phones. So, phrase I use is, how can I tastefully show up in someone's life, add value? And if we need to chat about real estate, great. Chances are we probably don't. And so if I'm doing my job well and tasteful, that whole piece of who I am should already be in the psyche of a potential customer. I don't have to yell it over and over, and this is how many homes I sold, and look at what I'm doing. Like, the data speaks for itself, the marketplace speaks for itself. And in our business, when I get a phone call that says, hey, Todd said to call you, there's not a better compliment, in my business, or whoever is helping us get in the path of business. That's the lifeblood of what.
So if you had someone's a teacher, an accountant, or I've already mentioned a dentist or something, and they had this personal interest or things, how would you encourage them to incorporate that in? Incorporate those in.
Yeah.
In ways you want to just role play.
Yeah. I mean,
quirky one that you probably. Quirky people know quirky people. So now you've got some friends doing that.
Well, for instance, Trey Sigler in my office, love this guy. He fishes. He wants to fish all he can. He loves it. Not long ago, he started hand making fishing lures. Started a little Instagram page. And guess what? Not only is he now selling fishing lures online, well, a local professional fisherman, there's only just a couple of them that we know in the marketplace. Guess whose business he got? That guy's business. So it's like, when you do these things and you find your interest and they're interested in things that you're interested in, you just never know the doors, that very well may open.
Um, what's Can you think of any professional job that would be ripe for that you see? You already mentioned banking. Um, I don't know. Some of them are limited. Lawyers, doctors, different ones. But the yeah, I'm always interested that I told someone the other day, I'm not a big baseball fan, but I went to a baseball game years ago, a Rangers professional game. Sat through a 4 hour game, had a good time, all that. But coming back, the guy I was with was listening to a baseball radio talk show.
Mm-hmm.
We just been to a game for 4 hours, and the people calling in to talk show talking about that game
Yeah.
were obnoxiously
Yeah.
intelligent about it.
They just loved it.
Dude, I remember the Rangers back in 1983, and this guy had this ERA. I mean, I was like, where do they get it? Just exhausted me.
Yeah.
And he made a comment, and he said, it's really not an intelligence thing, it's an interest thing. Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times he's found that the people that get that deep into stats and they're a passionate thing.
Yeah.
They're probably doing a job that they either are not interested in or doesn't use that kind of
Yeah.
power. They may be doing something creative with their hands or redundant work, whatever. But then their passion will be something that's very intellectual.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Right.
If you're someone that's having to read a lot, interpret data, do whatever, convey a lot,
Yeah.
be in front of people a lot, that's exhausting. I know as you in a wedding or a funeral, you're around a lot of people, just mentally just drains you. You're worn out more so than if you ran a triathlon. But it's kind of an inverse relationship. He's like, those people just want to, when they go home, they turn it off.
Yeah.
They'll watch MASH reruns or something.
Right.
I always thought that was kind of interesting, that it's not an intelligence thing, but boy, when someone can tie their passion in
For sure.
some way and just link it in some way, like say, maybe just nothing more entertaining salespeople, or maybe it's just if it's not a good deal for them, like if someone enjoys fishing with coworkers, building bonds with coworkers and things like that,
Totally.
Especially now, there's so much information out there. You can make almost anything in business.
That's right.
In some way.
That's right. And I think if I could, one of the greatest teaching things that I've done across the country when I teach in rooms is I talk about, we forget that the word custom is hidden in the word customer. And when you can customize an experience for a customer and tap into the things they're interested in, the book, Unreasonable Hospitality, maybe. I think that's the name of the book. It was written by the guy that co-owned 11 Madison in New York City. It was the greatest restaurant, I think, just a few years ago in the top 50 restaurants in the world. He wrote this book called Unreasonable. I think it was called Unreasonable Hospitality. Anyway, he just talks about how when you customize things for people, and I know Todd's interested in this, or I know, this guy's interested in that, or she loves yoga, or she loves cooking. When you can show up in someone's life and tap into those things, they feel seen, they feel understood. And I think it's a very beautiful business, interaction that can happen because you emphasize the customization of the customer experience. Like, that's the element.
Have you experienced that with AI yet? It's a weird feeling.
Oh yeah.
Weird feeling. Now, when you've researched or when you've prompted enough or done enough research, and it starts giving you back answers in your tone.
Yeah.
And they refer back to something, I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid, but I'm like, that was 4 or 5 different subjects ago. Where they said, because that you have an interest in this, we also talked about this.
That's right.
Or I remember about you that you did this or whatever, and you really like the style of this or that.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, it's just it's building that, and even though it's a mechanical thing, it still feels good.
Yeah. Oh, totally. This morning with AI, I was building a 40-year projection financial model for myself. And I was saying, here's these goals that I want, and here's what I think inflation's going to do, and this is how I envision my life in my 50s, 60s, and 70s. It spits out this whole thing and goes, P.S. by the way, these are the things that you've said are important to you. Time with your kids, time with your wife. And I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it was so cool to see.
Even just disingenuous, those comments feel good. Like a lady I work with, she said, with her coworkers, she's like, yeah, we need more sucking up around here. Even if it's not authentic, it just makes you feel good. Just say it. I mean, even though they're making it up, But it's kind of spooky. So yeah, the boring stuff.
Yep, fire away.
Let's bring it down. You do a monthly newsletter.
Typically,
a monthly on the status of real estate and primarily homes, wonderful family homes. Short version, how's the market holding up compared to? I read the last one. Compared to amazingly close.
Oh, it was one home different.
Really?
Year to date, 1,415 through July, June or July.
We're talking about
Yeah, and then it was 14-14 the year before, or vice versa. I mean, just a mirror image. I live in data. You know, I mean, I think it's important because if you know the data well enough, you can maybe permeate it and get to know the story a little bit. Because I was in running data again this morning on a specific listing, and it was just mind blowing to me how from August of last year to August of this year, in a very niche price point, 80% of the homes were on 8 or more acres. I was going, well, no wonder this specific home hasn't sold, because the 80% of the market has been doing this in that price point. I mean, we just haven't had a story that intersected that was looking for something like this. So yes, I send that out. I try to make it as non-spammy as possible, very brief, not as dense as some of that Citizen stuff you're reading.
To credit, I was sitting there thinking the things I remember about it is typically number of homes sold compared to the same time last year.
Days on market
compared to last year, and average sales price. So a very simple deal, but it gives you a pretty good feel. Market's holding up pretty well, and the thing system data in there about the range of the houses that have sold.
Yeah, the new thing that I started, and I've never done, you know, we always talk about sales price to list price ratio.
Yeah, that's right.
But one thing that we don't talk about is the original sales price to the eventual
how much that comes?
Yeah, and that has changed. You know, so that has said, okay, some, you know, what the data is telling us right now is sellers are reaching higher for pricing, and those that haven't sold end up having to price adjust aggressively, and then they get sold. The sales price to list price ratio never changes. It's always right around 97%. If you're $100,000, you're going to sell at $97,000. And again, that's a very generic, that is not gospel. That's just a baseline statement. But, you know, some of those homes that eventually sell at 97,000, well, they may have started at 110. You know, and I'm just inventing numbers here, but you know, and then once they hit 100,000 on a list price, then the market said we can go. I mean, it's uncanny, the nose of value that the market has. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how, you know, you can have a listing, it could sit there for 9 months. You do one last price adjustment and 3 people are interested. You know, where were these people for the last 9 months? But the market has a nose, you know, and it knows.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. You want to take the story out of the data. You're always looking for a story, you know. I'm always surprised when I see the number of realtors in McLennan County. You know that?
Yeah, like 1,500 or so.
And
I mean,
and there's some other data about connecting how active there are compared to, there's only 1,500 licensed realtors.
Yeah.
But there's some data about how many are actually active or sold a number of houses in the last year. It's
well, for the National Association of Realtors, year to date, 60% of all real estate agents have not had a sale.
Okay.
You know, so that's wild. But you know, there are a lot of people that, you know, they'll list a home for their uncle every 4 years, you know, or something like that. I mean, I think for us, we want to be known as the pros. We don't want to be known as the amateurs. We want to show up, know what we're doing, and help facilitate the process. So there's a ton of great agents in our marketplace. I think what we want to be known for within our firm is we're a small company with a big heart. We're data and story driven. And we want to treat every deal like it's a $10 million deal. People, you know, I had a guy this week go, you have anybody in your office that handles this price point? And I was like, you're talking to him. I was like, that's me. I mean, there is, you know, we take it all, we do it all. We're not above anything else. And no matter what it is, that story is important to that person. And so while we've carved a niche and across the market in all different areas, big or small, we're a part of them all.
That job reminds me of a restaurateur job from the standpoint of what advice would you give to someone either starting their career, changing careers, and says, I'm thinking about being a realtor?
Yeah.
You know, because a lot
I
of
get
people
that call a lot.
in the restaurant business, and we had a conversation with a restaurateur a while back, and I asked her, tell us about the things that people don't think about where they get in the restaurant business. And from our experience, we've seen those things.
Yeah.
But the pros and cons, what would you tell? Let's start with a young person.
Yeah.
Thanks, I want to be in real estate. And you probably say why, and they tell you,
Yeah, I love homes and I love people. That's what they all say. I just love homes and I love people, and that's great. You need to love both of those. I would say this: do you have 10,000 hours? Are you ready to earn your 10,000 hours? I remember for me, I'd come home years 1 through 4 in the business, and I was like, gosh, this is hard. It just feels like I'm climbing up the hill. Finally, about year 7 or 8, 12-hour work days, I finally started feeling some momentum. And if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's book, I think it's called Outliers, he talks about how the Beatles, they earned 10,000 hours and then they blew all these different artists, musicians, athletes. Lucky farmer is an oxymoron. So if you got 10,000 hours and your field is this city, this town, this county, and you're willing to go sow the seeds, then you're going to be doing just fine in 10,000 hours. In between now and then, saddle up. It is, I'm in the office every day at 7. I'm there most days till 5 or 6. I love it. It doesn't feel like work to me.
Most houses don't get shown 8 to 5.
Saturday, Sundays, if you're married, you better have a spouse that understands.
They want to make money after work.
Yeah.
Can you show it on Saturday?
That's right.
Sunday afternoon.
My schedule's not my own. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. If that is not your cup of tea, this is not your business. But you just can't fake out the universe with the 10,000 hour rule, and I think that if you're willing to do that, no matter what it is, if you want to be a photographer, you want to hoop and play basketball, like go earn 10,000 hours and you'll find.
The question I sometimes ask restaurant people that want to be in the business, like, do you want to work while everybody else is playing? Because that's what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Or you're going to work when people are playing.
That's right.
Or the equivalent of that. Nights and weekends.
That's right.
And if you do, and you really love it, then it can be very rewarding.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't think about that.
100%. And, those of us that are weird enough and twisted to be okay with that, they make great real estate agents. A high pain tolerance and 10,000 hours, you're going to be a great real estate agent.
Rejection.
Yeah. Rejection, being the middleman, bearer of bad news, bearer of great news sometimes too. But, I think that to me is, that would be my advice.
2 or 3 things you think are most important to be successful in business? Realty to whatever, but
yeah, my dad's always said, making friends is our business. So relational connectivity, authenticity, turning pro, not being an amateur. I'm an advocate for first one there, last one to leave, and that can sneak up on you sometimes, but I still do it and believe it. Aim small, miss small. I think the idea that, this is a biblical truth. Narrow is the path and few people find it. Most think that I got to have this great, wide, grandiose plan. Well, what happens if you have this very narrow, intentional plan and you are on that path? And I've coached agents across the country, and one of the things I say is, you're doing a great job when you turn around on your path and you don't see anyone else there. No, because it's your path. It's your narrow path. If you're going where everyone else is going, you're not going to be noticed. You're not going to be seen. You're not going to be talked about. To mention Seth Godin again, he wrote the book Purple Cow. And he's like, if you've ever seen a purple cow, what'd you do? Well, you probably pulled the car over, you took a purple cow selfie, and you told all your friends about it. That is how you need to be in business. You need to be a purple cow. You need to be something that gets shared, that gets talked about, that's remarkable, that's worth remarking on. And it really does take some intentionality. You don't just shoot out of bed and go, I'm going to be a purple cow today, or I'm going to be intentional. Like, you got to get quiet, you got to be still, and be focused, and get real comfortable with dropping your expectations of what you think this business is going to be, and fall in love with delayed gratification. So if you can be on your own path, you can drop all expectations, you can earn 10,000 hours, and you can have delayed gratification. I can't think of a better formula.
I'm conflicted because I've heard 2 people I respect come up with terms that I equally believe in, but they contradict each other. One, the whole adage, follow your passion for your primary work. Follow your passion. You're passionate about it. You never work a day in your life and all that kind of stuff. And then the other person kind of flipped that and said, the people that are telling you that are usually the people that have made their money or some like smeltering plant, some dirty business no one wants to do, no one else did it. They made their money in that, and now they've they're successful financially, and they're going off and doing whatever they're doing, and they're telling you, go pursue your passion. But if he'd went and pursued his passion, he'd never been able to do that.
That's
so
right.
it was more go pursue your passion with delayed gratification.
That's right.
So I get conflicted sometimes. Like, go pursue your passion.
Well, all great truth has a paradox to it.
You may have to do a trades job before you get there, or you may have to do this or that, or job. I've seen so many professionals. I know you have too. They're maybe good at what they do. They just don't like what they do. And why'd you get into this? My family expected me to, or whatever.
And just doing the next right thing. I mean, life is so mysterious. We all have these winding paths, and you probably never would have seen this path that it took you on, and I for sure didn't see this path that it took me on. But you do the next right thing, and some doors close, some doors open, and you just keep going day in.
Yeah, I was thinking back to you, looking at that kind of thing. The things that affected me the most are the ones that were the most painful.
Oh, I mean, you can say all you want about you can. I mean, one of the great teachers in my life that I studied under in New Mexico for a while, he says, and he's in ministry. He's a priest actually, and he goes, I've given umpteen thousand sermons. They've never done anything for anybody. He goes, your circumstances convert you. Your circumstances transform you. You can read all you want in the books. You can hear all the great messages, but it's when you're out in the nitty gritty and life's hitting you, that's how we transform. That's how we morph. That's how we move and become, who we long to be.
I think about it in so many contexts, the friction is what made us better. And we spend the rest of our lives trying to remove friction from our kids or whatever. I'm kind of a history buff for World War II, and someone made the analogy the other day, like, they don't think, there's a defense industry contracting thing at a symposium I was doing some research on. Someone made a comment that they don't think we have the will or the fortitude or whatever to go do what that generation did in World War II. I mean, everything from the kids that we sent over there.
Greatest generation,
but they came off of farms and hard lives, and we just don't have the ability to do it. And that's why a lot of this autonomous stuff is coming into play. We don't have the will, nor do we physically have the physical ability to do something.
That's right.
It's kind of interesting. So.
And that's why I think the metaphor of being on a farm is helpful, because yes, we're not all outside of West on the farms anymore. God bless those people that are, but you are still farming your life. And, you may think that AI can click a button and just make it all better, but anything that you would consider a trophy at the heart and soul level has come from some calluses.
I tried really hard to inject some friction into my kid's life, because I had some going up in a good way. Dad came off a farm, worked in a trades business. Since I was little, I tell people jokingly, my parents are both gone now, I said that, I was abused as a child. I started working when I was, that's probably 6, 7. My kids say, Dad, you now say it's 3. You were in diapers and you're working in the air conditioning business. But, looking at the things we did, like, my gosh, crawling up on, top of rooftops, carrying Freon balls and stuff. I mean, they throw them in jail for that. So I tried to inject friction into my kids' life in the modern day world, and you couldn't get jobs to a certain age. I tried everything I could. I don't think it's successful. My wife's like, you can't do that. But it's just fun. We try to remove that, and that's what makes them better and stronger. So
struggle is necessary. Suffering, that's another conversation. But struggle is for sure something that we all need to go through, and each and every day helps us morph and transform into who we want to be. So
you certainly brought passion into the real estate business.
Well, thank you.
Anybody that sees you knows it. Always have something good to say. Never say anything bad about anybody. Certainly believe that concept that we try to live by, that we don't need our competitors to do bad for us to do good. We just need to do good. So we appreciate it.
Well said. Thank you guys for what you do. I appreciate, getting the chance to share some of my story, and always grateful for who you guys are in the marketplace. And so like knows like,
your kids probably won't watch this for another 20 or 30 years, maybe 30 years. So
Watch it.
that's where one of my friends played for SMU a long time ago, and they had really good teams. And there was some anniversary of their championship season or something. They'd done a documentary, and this is the time.
Yeah.
Where I'm headed. He had a teenager son, and he's like, "This is the time." He scheduled it, got us a deal. We're gonna watch this game or whatever from their heyday. Popped the popcorn, did the whole thing. About 5 minutes in, his son was out. He's like, he had no pictures. Said, "Dad, can I go downstairs and play?" He's like, "Sure." He's so disappointed. I know, but that's just the nature of the beast.
Yep.
So
For sure.
Well, I appreciate you.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Take care, brother.
Okay.